He's the one drinking beer. I'm drinking water.
2 touchdowns a game?
Yes, in the game.
You're tripping.
How you high? No,
Greatest
high
Super Bowl time.
expectations.
I don't know what we're doing in that front office, man.
Twiddling our fucking dick.
Ryan, I just need you to drink this.
Wide receiver trivia. That's what she said.
Her.
What the fuck?
Her upset.
Are those crutches?
You can see Ryan's crutches.
What is going on, folks? Welcome back to After Further Review. This is episode 194. I am your co-host, Jalen Brown. Until the wheels fall off. That's alright. That's just coming at you from the year 2077. And, no, June is over at is it still the Verizon Center in DC? I'm not sure, but, he's watching his franchise tank another postseason. Oh, that's right. He's not a Wizards fan. For his sake, I hope there are plenty of free drink tickets at this gathering, because that it is. Folks, we always open up the show the same way, in case you're new. If you've got a drink by your side, now's the time to raise it on high, and cheers to our 194th episode. So, Nestor's cup looks, oh, that it is. That is Don Q, my man. Don Q Silver. Right. Religiously. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, there was almost some disasters. Almost started a national emergency. That's called growth, folks.
Speaking of which,
Continue to talk.
Yeah, I'm talking.
yeah,
Okay, it should
nothing.
be.
Be fixed now.
100 and let me play it on my end. That way I'll find out. Love when this happens.
We should be good.
Yes. Okay.
All right, we're good. We're good. We're good.
194 episodes.
You're 94.
So for the folks that did not hear earlier, if you guys want to introduce yourselves again.
Yeah, I'm your co-host, Malin Dennis.
And I'm your other great co-host, Nestor.
There we go. Like it didn't miss a beat. If you were
Didn't miss a beat.
paying attention, you saw us take a shot, which also signaled you to take a shot. Yeah, this is a NBA and NFL podcast. We are officially in full blown off season mode. So from here until about September something or other, enjoy a wacky show because we get into the weeds during these summer months.
It's
Yeah.
wild to me that we always have our like centennial episode. We had the 100th episode during the like this one's gonna 200 is gonna be
Yeah.
like I don't know during training camp. Like, we're-
Right.
nothing big going on. We was like, all right, guys, we decided to start a podcast this summer. What about it?
I think it was G Money in the chat said we can't hear from Nestor from the strip club or Malin.
That's great.
That's pretty good.
G money in the chat, people.
Odyssey 2001.
Yeah, literally. Yes. So let's just go right into the first topic of this week, which we are going to play a little game called Quarterback Prove It or Lose It. So I took 5 quarterbacks, and basically said, hey, these guys are kind of on a contract year. Are they going to get an extension from the team that they're on, or is the team going to say, you know what, run along, you go find your money somewhere else? Which, ironically, pretty much all, I think outside of Jordan Love, all the rest of these guys from the same draft class.
Now, are we only doing if they are going to get an extension from the team they're on, or if they go to another team to get a big contract?
Yeah, if you've got an idea of somewhere else, then you can be as detailed as you want. Definitely open to that. Yeah, so most of these guys are from the 2021 draft class, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is really crazy that
Worst
pretty
draft
much
class, so.
all these guys are backups at this point. Which is like, wow. It just kind of goes to show how hard it is to succeed as a first round quarterback. But yeah, let's start off with Justin Fields. Malin, we will start with you. Do you think that he is going to prove it as a Steeler or lose it and go somewhere else?
I think that Justin Fields will have. I think he'll have enough playing time, and I think he'll do good enough for another team to pick him up on a contract, and give him a chance as a starter. Because keep in mind, he was traded to Pittsburgh like right after they got Russell Wilson, so he didn't really have a choice there. But people are still enamored with his skill set. People still say that he has promise. I think a lot of people are blaming the Chicago woes more on the coaching staff and the talent around them because they decided to put all this talent around Campbell, but not Justin Fields when he was there. But I think he'll see some playing time with Russell Wilson. I'm not sure that either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields will still be a Pittsburgh Steeler next year, but that's why I'm saying I think he'll do enough or show enough, or the Steelers will be able to prop him up enough for another team to give him an opportunity. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting like a 2 or 3 year contract, $25-30 million, like nowhere near like the $50 million range or something like that. But I think that Justin Fields has one more opportunity to be a starter in the NFL after this. He's got one more stop in him.
Yeah, I'm going to second this. I think that he will have just enough tape as a Steeler to show somebody else who will be sort of desperate for a quarterback this time next year. And yeah, he'll get a little bit of money to go play somewhere else. I just can't see him staying as a Steeler though. But Nestor.
Yep, I think we saw probably Justin Fields' best season in 2022. And I think he's going to hover around those numbers if he's lucky, which is good enough. It's not bad. Those numbers are not bad, but it's good enough to, like you guys have said, that maybe another team will pick him up. He can explore that option. Just not sure if he's going to really receive enough playing time to prove that, he could possibly even get an extension with the Steelers. That's if he even played great, because you have to play great to get an extension with the Steelers. So I think he's always going to be this guy, this quarterback that's going to be on the fringes of like right outside the top 10. So I don't think he's going to get an extension, but he can definitely explore the market. So yeah.
G Money saying that he doubts he gets an extension from Pittsburgh, but maybe gets signed as a backup somewhere for $5 million on a 2-year deal.
That's, I don't even think that's the minimum that quarterbacks are getting, but $5 million a year.
All right, let's go on down to Duval, where my man Mac Jones is at. Malin, do you think Mac Jones will remain a Jaguar, or do you think he will walk?
I think that Mac Jones has the possibility of being a 10 to 15 year backup quarterback in the NFL. I think he was great. He was not greater than the sum of his parts at Alabama. He needs a lot of talent around him to be able to be that difference maker. If you give him a loaded roster, could he play better? Like, let's say if he was with San Francisco, would he be better than Brock Purdy in San Francisco under Mike Shanahan's offense? I think he's more talented than Brock Purdy, but I don't think he's going to have that opportunity. He's stuck in Jacksonville. Golden Boy Sunshine is the quarterback there. They just gave him the massive extension.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few backup quarterbacks that I think about, like a Brian Hoyer, just the journeyman guy that can get a few games every now and then. I don't know if you guys remember the quarterback Chase Daniels, who was out of the University of Missouri. He was a backup to Drew Brees for a long time. Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's a backup now with the Chargers. He helped the Chiefs when they won their. Remember, Mahomes got hurt in the playoffs. Chase Daniels stepped up. I think it was against Cleveland. I might have been Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it was Cleveland. Yeah,
that ring a bell?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think he could have those types of moments. With Jacoby Brissett, kind of rings a bell of that person that could be a highly sought after backup. But I mean, it's not that Trevor Lawrence doesn't get hurt, so I think he'll have an opportunity to play maybe. But he'd have to wow the shit out of some people to get an opportunity as a starter again. So I don't know. I don't see him being a starter again, but if he wants to have a long career as a backup, I think it's in the cards. There's been some Alabama quarterbacks that have been good backups. McElroy was one. There was someone else that was playing for the I forget who it was. I think it was the Bengals. He was a backup.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I think there's been some Alabama quarterbacks that have been decent backups. So I think he'll have a shot to stick around in the league. But
was it McCarron, AJ McCarron, something like that?
AJ McCarron, yes, but with the Bengals.
Yeah, he was solid.
So,
G Money says Mac Jones is probably calling SEC games in 2 years.
probably not lying.
Nestor.
I think he's gonna be as good as Kyle Trask at the moment. No, I just yeah. No, he had a really unimpressive season. So I think the Jaguars they'll have to see that. They could possibly realize that he's not even good enough as a backup, but maybe with less pressure and a little bit more talent on that team, I don't know, a little bit more stability, certainly they could pull something off for him. So definitely the pressure's off. I know that for sure. So maybe he could be a good backup for a few years, like Mila said.
I do think we can all agree that his woes in New England were not 100% his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, his second year in the league, they stuck him with a special teams coordinator, the defensive coordinator is dual offensive coordinators. And I can't name one skill player on offense from the Patriots last year except for Aguilar. I think Aguilar was on the roster. I think that's it. So I mean,
He was gone by then. He was in Baltimore.
yeah. So it's like
Just there you
I
go.
mean, it's not all his fault. But he's gone a long way from doing the giddy at the Pro Bowl, hasn't he? It's come a long way.
Yeah, 2021 seems like an eon ago now. I think he'll stay a Jag because, like you said, there's no expectations, and he was always, solid at the very least. He just never struck me as a bad quarterback. New England, we've been a mess these past couple of years, so it was not all his fault. So he'll probably have a couple opportunities to play in Jacksonville this year and then over the next coming years because Trevor Lawrence seems to always have at least a couple games where he's hurt for whatever reason. And I think he can hold it down if he can go, 2-3 or 2-1 rather with the roster that Jacksonville has. Just enough to show that he's still a valuable backup. But yeah, I think Jacksonville will bring him back because
Jalen, he was your quarterback for a few years. True or false? If he was on the 49ers right now, they win 12 games next year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he definitely gives me a lot of Brock Purdy vibes, for sure. Next quarterback, we've got Jordan Love. Go ahead, Malin.
I think that first of all, I think he's the only one on here that is going to be a franchise quarterback. I know we started off slow last year, but once he started cooking after about week 6, I think give him about 4 to 6 weeks in this next year, and you'll probably see the Packers lock him up with a big deal in the middle of October. You just want to see how he does out of the gate. If he starts off like he finished last year, he's going to get a big contract.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say big contract, it's going to be like north of $45 million a year, because he balled out. He was arguably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL the second half of the year, especially statistically. He was number 2 in a lot of categories. So, I mean, he definitely. It pisses me off. Don't get me wrong. The Packers get a go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Now potentially another franchise quarterback. Are you effing kidding me? While my team went through people like Rick Mirer and Dave Craig and John Freeze and John Kitna and then Hasselbeck and I mean, I think we had Chavaris Jackson before we had Russell Wilson. I mean, I got Geno Smith, and these people are like, hey, 3 guys for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's wild. I hate it. I wish the Packers would just go off into the sunset where they belong. But Jordan Love might keep them around for another decade.
Nestor.
Yeah. He did start off slow, but like Malin said, he just when you look at the roster he has, like those young receivers, I feel like he you can tell how much of a good quarterback he is because those guys are rookies. Like guys like Wicks and Romeo Dubs, like those guys are not experienced wide receivers, and the way he would launch the ball back there and got the most out of them. So I think he's gonna be definitely a franchise quarterback. The upset over the Cowboys, like it was nothing. You can just tell the future's bright for Green Bay. So yeah.
It's very Aaron Rodgers like, taking a bunch of wide receivers that nobody knows about and just playing great ball on offense. And did it with Aaron Jones is your running back, who was terrible last year, and now you're going to have Josh Jacobs as your running back. I mean,
Yeah.
he threw for almost 4,200 yards, and Nestor and I both talked about how he started slow last year. 4,150 something yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I mean, that's big numbers your first year as a starter, especially when you were mediocre for like 5 weeks.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely get an extension. By the way, G Money says that Jordan Love will get his extension during training camp, which I could definitely see that happening. Just the weeks leading right up to the start of the regular season, they just give him the bag. But he's definitely deserving of it because, it's funny when you say it's Aaron Rodgers, like Malin. It reminds me more of like a younger Aaron Rodgers because towards the end there in Green Bay, it seemed like Rodgers just couldn't seem to connect with a lot of those same young guys.
I'm
And
talking like the James Jones and the Jordy Nelsons.
Yeah.
You're taking players
yeah,
that no one really heard of, and no one was expecting these wide receivers with Green Bay to be as good as they are right now. And Aaron Rodgers just took these people to new heights, and it kind of seems like Jordan Love has the ability to do the same thing.
yeah.
You got
Because he's
Devontae Adams coming out and saying, that shit. I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting Jordan Love to ball like this when he left for Oakland, and now he's got who is throwing him the ball? Is it Mullet Man?
I can't
What
remember
is his
his
name?
Was it
WSU. He played for
O-
Indianapolis last year.
O'Connell.
What's his name? Oh, come on.
Something.
God damn, why can't I think of his
I don't
name?
know.
But he played for Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Jort's guy.
Oh,
drives a
oh,
camper.
oh,
You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Um,
Oh my gosh, it's
I
gonna
can't
kill
think
me.
of his name.
It's not Kevin O'Connell anymore. It's Jorts. Oh Lord have mercy.
Come on, man.
Tip
I
of
know
my
that
tongue.
G Money has it right now. I know he does. Oh, Gardner Minshew.
Gardner.
And
That's
Gardner
right.
Minshew is number one, and then it's O'Connell. Yeah, I mean, you but the wide receivers I have right now wouldn't be who they are if Devontae Adams is still there. But even when he comes out and puts some shine on Jordan Love and admits that maybe he was kind of wrong on that,
Yeah.
kind of proves even more like the value that he has to the franchise. But also proves more how much of a question mark he was going into last year. I mean, I do think that people were right in training camp last year questioning whether or not he could be that guy because we hadn't seen him and we hadn't exactly heard great things
Mm.
from teammates in training camps and OTAs the last couple of years and stuff like that. He didn't have that moxie or that confidence like Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre was always saying he could be a starter. He was always saying that and had that confidence about him. And I think Jordan Love had a little bit more of a quiet confidence. But I think that the question marks were justified at the beginning of last year. But he definitely wiped all those away.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why I think he'll come back. It's funny. I couldn't remember how the Cowboys got knocked out of the playoffs recently. I was like, what was it this year? I kept thinking it was San Francisco, but I was thinking it 2 years ago. So I'm glad Nestor
They got their
mentioned.
ass beat by the Packers.
Right, they got just wiped out. Yeah, and then they damn near beat San Francisco. So,
Yep.
Jordan Love, I think he's definitely the next answer for Green Bay, which is just wild. All right, who we got next here? Zach Wilson, the man, the myth, the legend, BYU's finest. Go ahead, Malin.
Where did he end up again?
He's in Denver.
Broncos.
Denver. Okay. Lots of blondes in Denver. Lots of 40-year-old blonde moms in Denver. So I think he's gonna fit right in and have some fun. I don't know. I never really thought he was all that talented coming out of college. BYU didn't play anybody. When you have to put on your headband when you're playing for BYU, will play anybody during COVID. That means that you don't have much of a competition. Steve Young is really the only quarterback to come out of BYU that ever did anything in the NFL. I do realize that Ty Detmer came out of there, and there was one more quarterback in the 80s before Steve Young that I think they won a Heisman. But there just hasn't been a whole lot of great quarterback play that's translated to the NFL coming out of BYU because they were always an independent. And they always played an inferior schedule, unlike like Notre Dame and their independent schedule. It was really untested. New York had weapons. They had players. They didn't have an offensive line, but they had skill players. Denver doesn't really have much of an offensive line. They don't really have a whole lot of skill position players right now. You got Bo Nix, who's incredibly accurate with the football. He'll obviously be QB1 going into that year. I'm not even sure he's going to get any playing time. I think he could be like a Johnny Manziel where he's out of the league in a couple years because he just can't. He's just kind of polarizing, man. There's too much negativity around him that I don't think he'll ever have the opportunity to prove doubters wrong. And I'm not sure that he's talented enough to do that. So, but I don't think he's worth the headache of having as a backup either. So, I think he'll be all in some BYU games, Big 12, couple years.
G Money says Zach Wilson has already asked for a trade from Denver to the Rams after he heard that Stafford's wife slept with his backup. Go ahead and ask.
Hey, Zach Wilson and Stetson Bennett in a QB room together with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's totally fine watching, people fall off the stage and break their neck and just walk away and keep drinking. And you got Stetson Bennett. I think he's a walking DUI. I think he get pulled over just walking down the street. The hell of a QB room if that happened.
Go ahead, Nestor.
Yeah, I think everybody knows what Zach Wilson is capable of. He has around 57% completion percentage, so not very talented. But maybe it didn't help that he was on one of the worst teams in the NFL. So maybe under new coaching in Denver, they could bring his career back to life. I really doubt it. Maybe he'll get some playtime if Bo Nix gets hurt. Who knows? But man, it's not looking good for him. I just don't think he's a talented dude.
So you're saying no, that they do not keep him?
No.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to keep.
Man, I'm going to be the only one that goes to bat here for old Z Wilson. The only reason I think that they're going to keep him is because I don't know why they brought him there in the first place if they weren't intending on keeping him, period. You know what I'm saying? It's like we know everything that we're going to know about Zach Wilson at this point. So for whatever reason, why wouldn't they keep him?
Give yourself a little bit of an insurance policy with a rookie quarterback, some kind of veteran in there. Even though if I was Bo Nix, I wouldn't listen to him. I'd be like, I'm better than you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hit everything at life instead of bagging soccer moms. Bo Nix's wife herself is like hotter than any mom that Zach Wilson could pick up. So people forget, man. Bo Nix is old. I think he's the same age or older than Zach Wilson. He was in college for I think 15 years. He was between Auburn and Oregon. I think he had a kid. I don't know. Probably doesn't have a kid, but I know he was married the entire time he was in Oregon. So what?
Yeah, I will always remember Zach Wilson. Like, to me, his most memorable moment was last year's season opener when Aaron Rodgers went out and the Jets were still in the game the whole time. Like, they never gave up, basically. And you could see him literally on the bench when the defense would force a turnover. The whole offense was pulling them up and come on, come on, like you can do this, and that was like it summed up
He threw that one
his
touchdown.
whole Jets career.
But I remember after that week 1 win, people were asking, well, could Zach Wilson
Yeah.
end up? And after 1 week after that, going into week 3, everyone on ESPN and FS1 was like, yeah, we were right. We were right. We were.
Well,
That's
good luck, Zach. All right. And then last one is Trey Lance down in Dallas. What are we
I
thinking
don't
on
want to talk
Trey
about
Lance?
this.
Go ahead, Malin.
I think he's the biggest unknown, man.
Oh yeah.
He's only played in 8 games. I remember being very excited that the 49ers drafted him. He came out of North Dakota State, same college I believe that Carson Wentz came out of. And we all know what happened to Carson Wentz. But he only played in 6 games his first year, 2 games his second year before he got hurt. He just kept getting hurt. Not terribly bad with a football, but he was like a 50. I mean, I think he only threw 2 or 3 interceptions in those 8 games, but I think he was only like 55% completion percentage, and I think he only had like 7 or 8 touchdowns. Very underwhelming. His rushing yards were even underwhelming. I mean, in 8 games, he has 230 rushing yards. Playing at North Dakota State, I think he was getting shine because of what Carson Wentz had been able to do. But then COVID hit. I think he only played 4 games in COVID. So since 2020, he's played 12 football games in 4 years. Like, I hear people saying, get rid of Dak and turn it over to Trey Lance. If you're Jerry Jones and you want to win a Super Bowl right now, you already look like the Crypt Keeper. Like, I don't know that you can afford to take that type of gamble. And I don't see any team giving him an opportunity to be a starter, maybe as a backup. And if someone goes down and he comes in and he's able to prove something, like if Dak breaks a thumb again, like what he did and Cooper Rush came in, could he do what Cooper Rush did? I guess. But 12 games in 4 years, man, between college and the pros. And he was what, like the number 3 pick in the draft? He was in the top 5, wasn't he?
Yeah, yep.
Pretty sure it was top 5. He's getting paid $8.7 million this year by the Cowboys. Wow. Like, that's insane. The amount of money he's making for doing nothing in the NFL.
Go ahead, Nestor.
I felt like there were some things that spoke to me that he had some talent. Not the stats, definitely, but certain plays in the short NFL career lifespan that he had. I would know because I drafted him in my fantasy league the year he got hurt.
Yeah.
Forever. So
QB1.
along with 3 other guys that got injured, so that was over for me by the end of September. But I've always wanted to see him have another opportunity, another shot at it, because like Milan said, he's like the biggest unknown. The kid barely played football. So yeah, man, I think he gets another shot. I'm gonna be optimistic here. I think he's gonna get another shot at it. I would hate to see him just I don't know, hover around other teams and just, until that's it. He calls it quits because at this point,
You say
what are you
that,
gonna do?
but like, who's going to give him another shot, though?
Mm.
Any team that's bad enough to want to give him a shot to be a starter is going to have a top 10 pick to draft a quarterback and pay them a hell of a lot less than what they would have to pay even him coming in, probably. And so do you bring him in and draft somebody? Like, then are you just wasting cap space? Like,
Right.
I kind of feel like he's in this crack where it's just not going to work out for him. So, I mean, if you draft someone in the top 10, you got him for 5 years. You got club control over this guy. If you sign him, you're probably going to get a 2 to 3 year deal at most. And then if he takes off, you're paying him $50 million after 3 years. So, like, financially, it doesn't even make sense to try to give him that shot.
Maybe some people get hurt.
I'm of the
That'll work out.
mindset that he's going to be a lot like Justin Fields in the sense that, I don't know, Dak is very. I don't think any of us would be shocked if Dak missed 3-4 weeks of football this coming year, and in that time span gives Trey Lance a little bit of time to shine, and he ends up being another backup somewhere else more long term. I don't think he'll have enough of an opportunity to show he can be a starter somewhere else, just because, like Malin said, anybody that could get him, they'd have a top 10 pick anyway, so they just wouldn't really need him like that. But I can't see him staying with Dallas. Yeah, I mean, hell, Cooper
Especially
Rush
not
was
that price
able
tag.
to, yeah, for what he's gonna want. Like, Cooper Rush was able to keep winning games, and look what happened with that. So, in Trey Lance's case, why the hell would they want to keep him around? Which also just makes me think, why did they bring him there in the first place? But whatever.
You guys think that Dak gets that big extension?
I do. So, by the
Yeah.
way, Dak and Tua, I was going to put them on this list, but real quick, if you guys want to hit them, does anybody think that neither one of them will get an extension?
I think they'll both get their extension because I think both organizations are stuck. They're not they're too good to be able to draft an upgrade. And there's no other free agent quarterbacks that you can sign. And so how do you get better at the
Yeah.
position? Dallas and Miami have great rosters. They're
Yep.
going to win games. They're not going. So then you're giving up a ton of draft capital and then sign a quarterback, but you need that draft capital because you're not going to be able to keep all the talent you have now in the next couple of years because you're going to have to start picking and choosing how you like. They're both kind of in a win now window over the next 2 to 3 years. And I think you're stuck, and I don't think you're necessarily bad for being stuck. I think both of them have obviously missed some time with injuries, but when those offenses are rolling, those offenses are rolling.
Yep.
I think you have more of a question mark with the coaching of Dallas than you do the coaching in Miami. But I think those rosters are too good right now to try to start over at the quarterback position.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like it's not a matter of if with either one of these guys. It's just a matter of how much, like, what is the number going to end up being? But what do you think, Nestor?
Yeah, like Amanda said, they're both stuck. I have high hopes. I don't know about Cowboy fans, but I have high hopes for what Tua can do with Miami, just because I still think the dude is young. I think we have a lot of talent around him. We're building up our defense, building up that O line. We've only gotten way better since that disaster of a season when he got hurt. He had those concussions. So I think we have a lot more to look forward to. Why take a gamble on anything else other than Tua? So
The only way I could see them not giving an extension is if one of these quarterbacks has a season-ending injury in like week 3. The teams pull off like really bad records because the backups can't do anything, and then they're in a position in the top 10 to maybe draft a quarterback, or you're giving up less draft capital to move up from 10 to 5 or something like that. But the
Yeah.
only other thing that I would say about Miami though is that you're paying, I think, 38% of your salary cap to Hill and Waddle right now.
Mhm.
You like, how much money can you give to a and is that going to be enough for him to want to that makes me a little bit nervous because you're paying so much money to your skill players that's they're going to have to massage that salary cap a little bit.
Yeah, they just somebody around the Miami organization just recently came out and said that the number that they are planning to offer Tua is not going to be in the same ballpark that Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff just got. Like, it's going to be less than that for sure. So sounds like
For
it's going to
good
be a
reason.
bit of little bit of drama there, but understandably so.
I don't think Trevor Lawrence should have gotten the money he got.
No, absolutely
Yes.
not.
One playoff appearance.
Right, right. Well, should be interesting. Should be very interesting going forward. But before we hit the news, I do want to mention that we have a Discord that is completely free to join. It is linked down in the description below if you want to talk ball with us throughout the day. We are always in there talking nonsense. So, yeah, join us on Discord. Come be a part of the conversation. And we'd love to have any newcomers. So, link down below. We'll see you in there. Now, let's get to the news for the week. Now, we did start this show in the midst of the first round of the NBA draft. So I figured it's at least worth mentioning who was taken, at least the first kind of few picks here. No, Bronny James was not been snatched off the board yet. He's still out there.
Come on, Heat, do something.
The LeBron James bait is still available for whatever team wants to plunge. But Atlanta's first pick went to Zachary Risker. I don't know. He's French kid.
Thatcher.
There you go.
Yeah.
Alex Sarr
Sarr.
was taking second. Washington, another French
I'm
kid.
surprised that Shepard went when he did.
Yeah, Reece Shepard went to Houston, which I was curious what Houston was going to do with that third pick. And there you go.
I'm a little bit surprised that Zach Edey went all the way down to number 9 to Memphis.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I think there is a little bit of a renaissance for the big man right now in the NBA still.
Yeah.
And Zach Edey is a big guy that can actually hit free throws. Yeah, I mean he's freaking huge. I was a little bit surprised he dropped as far as he did, and I'm also a little bit surprised. Like he had a pretty good run for the first 15 picks of people actually coming out of college. But France, I mean, I'm just seeing all these people coming from Europe, and it is solidifying more like the rule changes that the NBA has made over the last 20 years. These big guys, they can shoot the ball from anywhere, from overseas. I mean, they are just taking over the NBA.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to see a little bit. It's a different NBA than what we saw in the late 90s, early 2000s, even like the 2010s, man. It is a completely different culture. So, I mean, just the fact that 3 out of the top 6 came from France. I mean,
Right.
what are we doing? It's supposed to be baking croissants. Like, what's going on here? What is this?
2 picks that I am very curious about, and I think they came one after another. Yeah. OKC taking the Nikola Topic out of Serbia. Serbian guard. I am curious to see how that works out because all the Serbian players are always think big guys, but I've never heard of him prior to this. And then Devin Carter going to Sacramento out of Providence. I think that's going to be very interesting to see him, how Sacramento incorporates him into their offense alongside De'Aaron Fox to see if they want to keep him as more of like coming off the bench as a point guard, or they're going to try and put him at the 2 and keep them both there, which I would love to see them try doing that in today's hybrid NBA. Yeah, Sacramento, that's an interesting move for them. So, Nestor, any thoughts?
I'm not surprised at all the um French dudes coming over because um man, I feel like they have some solid talent in Europe, and I would think France would be one of those countries to have a league where they got some good talent building up. So um, I'm surprised we hear about this now, but at the same time, we've always had like great talent coming in um, from college. So I see that. I understand that too. I want to see what our guy Kal-El and damn next Superman, our next center. I want to see what he provides for our team. I think that'll be very interesting. Because I know we just gave, I think we just extended
Yeah, Bam just
our boy
got some new
Bam.
money.
So happy for him. Happy we keep him, and I'd like to see what this other Kal-El brings it to our team. So happy about that, especially because our cap space is shit right now. So
Two things real quick, Jalen. One, I think my biggest sleeper so far in the draft was Dillingham going to San Antonio.
Okay.
I think, like, from everything that I heard, because I don't know that much about the men's game, because the women's game was just so much better this last year, and it's hard to really get to know these players because of transfer portal, NIL, stuff like that. Like, people are moving all over the place in the men's game. But Rob Dillingham going to San Antonio, he was regarded as one of the best, like, offensive players. He's 6'3", only 170 pounds, so he has to put on some size. But great ball handling, great scorer. I think he was averaging 15 points off of just 20 minutes a game in college, which isn't bad. But he is a little bit of a defensive liability. But if you put him scoring his scoring up there with Wembanyama, and he helped kind of accelerate that Spurs team a little bit, that'd be great. And I am all for, hear me out, number 30 pick. Let's just create some chaos, Jalen. Let's go ahead and draft Bronny James. Let's do it. Let's do it. Number 30, first round. Let's draft Bronny James. Use him as trade bait. Use him to get LeBron James. I don't give a shit.
I love it.
Would that not just be the most boss move for the NBA champs to be like, you know what, Lakers, we got one more banner than you, and we know that you're offering a 3-year max deal to LeBron James. We're gonna go ahead and take his kid and make LA and Boston with this, because I do think that Bronny James has the opportunity to be a decent player in the NBA.
Yeah.
He plays, I mean, hell, especially with the people he's training with, that he's been training with. I mean, if you train against your dad every single day, you're going to get better. And I do think that with his, cardiac arrest he had at USC, I think he's better than 4 points a game at USC. I don't think he'll ever be a star. I don't think it's fair to have expectations of him being like LeBron James. But I just think it'd be funny because, like, who do we need at pick 30
Right.
in the first round this year? Who do we need? Let's go ahead and get ourselves front page starting tomorrow, right after Banner 18. Just get Bronny James. Just turn the NBA on. Just see what happens. Why not?
I'm here for it. Just for the chaos. G Money alerted us that Dillingham was actually traded to Minnesota.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Okay.
for a bunch of just future
I did not know that.
pick swaps.
Okay, Minnesota.
It's very
Ooh,
interesting.
that could be good for them. Be good for them. That Minnesota team is going to be a little tough next year.
Yeah. So sorry, San Antonio. Guess you'll not quite. All right, let's keep it moving. The Lakers, they signed JJ Redick to a 4-year deal as their new head coach. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We will mention this a bit later in the second half of the show because it's part of our community comments. But for now, I just think it's super funny how we were joking about it last week. And then I think the next day, they actually signed him. Any thoughts on JJ
Yeah.
Redick?
I don't know, man. I mean, unless you're someone like a Pop or Phil Jackson or someone like that, like, wow. I think the head coach of an NBA basketball team is one of the most overrated jobs in professional sports, because there's so much talent on the floor. Like, how many times have we heard of the Stars where a coach is drawing up a play and the Stars like, fuck that, give me the ball. So, like, could he end up being a good coach? I'll tell you this. I think he's smart enough to surround himself with good people.
Yeah.
I think he has the respect of people across the league. I think he can identify well. I think he has really good charisma. But has he ever coached before? No. But there's been a lot of other people that never coached before that were former players that did pretty well. I mean, Larry Bird did pretty well when he was with Indiana. Jason Kidd initially didn't do that well, but he's doing pretty good with Dallas right now, right? Like there's players that can translate to coaching where they don't need to go through all the hoops. I think that that's another thing. It is a little bit unfair in the NBA. Like there's some people that have to, Patrick Ewing spent how many years as assistant head coach and never had an opportunity.
Yeah.
They just signed Sam Cassell for the coaching staff. He's been an assistant for 15 years. What I don't like is people playing the race card. Because I've heard a lot of people, well, Sam Cassell had to do 15 years and buy his time. Why didn't he become the head coach? He's not as famous as JJ Redick right now. JJ Redick has made a very good name for himself outside of playing. I mean, when you can put Stephen A. Smith on his rear end by just being on First Take and just flat out saying it's very obvious that you never played the game with the way that you comment about it. I like that type of attitude from that guy. So clearly this is someone that LeBron James wanted. Somebody that he would trust. I think it's a little funnier that he's only 180 days older than LeBron James, but that's fine. But the race thing does kind of bother me a little bit, Jalen. There's been plenty of black former players that have gotten head coaching opportunities without any coaching experience. Again, Jason Kidd being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not racially motivated. And then you also have, he gets hired, and what are we dealing with right out the gate? An alumni from Duke saying that when she was a staffer, like in the sports complex, that JJ Redick used the N-word at Duke.
Oh boy.
Okay, well, he played for Duke when? Back in like the mid 2000s.
Right.
And Halima Nash is just now coming out with this when he gets a head coaching job. Not when he was playing in the NBA. Never heard about it when he was a first round pick. You never heard about it when he was playing. Never heard about it with his podcast or everything he was doing with ESPN. Now that he gets the head coaching job and people are making racially motivated comments on how he got it unfairly, now all of a sudden you have someone that went to Duke. Oh, he said the N-word. I'm like, what are we doing? So yes, it's a little funny. I love that the Lakers did it because I don't think they're going to win a championship with him. I think that Larry Bird is the only former player in the last 30 years to take a first head coaching job he ever had, take that team to the NBA Finals. Everybody else sucked, and when they got to a second team, ended up doing well. But I think he has the possibility to be good because he'll surround himself with good people. He's a very smart person. So I don't know. It's funny. I want the Lakers to suck, so I'm all for it. But it wouldn't surprise me if in like 8 years, JJ Redick is like a hot NBA coach on another team.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. You can go ahead, Nestor. I'm going to save my comments for when we come back to this with G Money.
Surprisingly, Well, not surprisingly, actually, the Laker fans are happy about this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brain damage going on over there. But he's a type of coach where he doesn't have experience, but he could be some sort of well, he has less to me. He has less experience than that, but he's kind of like Mike McDaniels with Miami. He's a funny dude. He's gonna be a funny dude in the press conferences. He's gonna give a little bit of different motivation to that locker room,
Fun
and
is a strong
apparently to
word.
the fans already. Um,
Like his
you know,
personality, right? Do you think he'd have
yeah,
any problem, Nestor, like commanding a locker room or getting respect of players?
don't think
Like
so.
with his personality, he was always even fiery on the court, and he always had the respect of his teammates when he
Right.
played. Like I don't think he'll have that issue.
Uh, I think he could be a great coach to serve as a bridge from what the Lakers are now to what they could be in the future if they play their cards right. But in as far as like a championship with JJ Redick, I don't see that.
All right. Again, folks, if you're watching live, we're gonna touch kind of back on this in the next segment, in the second half. Next news story. This happened earlier today or late last night. Mikal Bridges is now a New York Knick. Hopped on over from the Nets. So the Nets gave up Bogdanovich and a bunch. I think it was like 6 draft picks over the next several years. They've got 4 unprotected first round picks, 1 protected first round pick from the Bucks, 1 unprotected unprotected pick swap, and 1 second round pick, all for Mikal Bridges, who now is basically turned the New York Knicks into the New York Wildcats at this point. This was a Knicks fan seems to be very happy to have Mikal Bridges, who's, I will say, one of the better defensive players in the NBA, and was the only bright spot on the Nets roster. Nets are fully embracing their rebuild mode, and the Knicks seeming to say, all right, we're going all for the chip next year. Do you guys think that this is going to move the needle on the Knicks actually being a title contender now?
A little bit, just because he's a dude that he's healthy and he has a decent healthy um, points per game, so it's gonna be it's gonna it's gonna move the needle a little bit, like a millimeter. But it's healthy for the team because the Knicks are doing pretty good. Nowhere near what they used to be, thankfully for them. So why not have a guy like Mikal Bridges?
I don't know. I mean, you're right. Like they're basically reuniting everyone from Villanova. And I'm pretty sure that squad won a national championship.
Yeah.
So they play good team basketball together. 19.6 points a game. I think you add that to the Knicks. I think that only elevates them a little bit. I mean, New York was already the number 2 seed last year, right? But how much of that was due to injury with other players? They were 50 and 32 last year. I'm pretty sure they were the number 2 seed, but you still got teams like Milwaukee and Philly out there. Does it make it better than Milwaukee or Philly? Not if everybody's healthy, I don't think. But those 2 teams can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
But I don't think it makes them better than Boston. I think Boston is still. I'm not just saying that to be a fanboy or like a homer right now, but Boston was clearly head and shoulders not only the best team in the East, but the best team in the NBA last year. And I don't think that adding Bridges, I don't think that puts them in the same conversation with Boston right now. But I think it's the best addition they could make. So I don't fault them for it. I think they'll be better. Maybe they advance further in the playoffs. Maybe they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe we're watching Boston, New York last year. And if that's the case, then I think that's a win for them. because they've been irrelevant for so long. And so if he can help them build on the success they had last year, then good on them. But I don't think it necessarily makes them a title.
Yeah, I don't think it makes them a contender either. I agree. I think that at best, this gets them to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like they would have beaten Indiana this year had he been on their roster. Because part of the reason they didn't was that they just broke down. Like by that game 7, it seemed like everybody was injured at that point. And Indiana just literally ran them off their own home court. So having Bridges there will be a great addition. Obviously, he's a Nova guy, so they're all familiar with him. He'll plug and play easily. But is he going to make a New York team a threat to the Celtics as far as coming out of the East? No, I just don't see that happening. You can add Mikal Bridges to the squad, but if the New York Knicks had Mikal Bridges against the Celtics team in the Eastern Conference Finals this year, I still don't see us falling to them in order to get to the finals. Like it doesn't.
Maybe it would have gone 6 games
Right.
if
yeah.
the Knicks were healthy. Like maybe it goes 6.
Yeah.
But this has to be some sort of record for college teammates playing together.
Yeah, you would think so.
It has to be. I mean, the whole damn team, basically.
Yeah. And it to me, it also raises
It was already weird before they added Bridges.
If Milwaukee is healthy, I still think Milwaukee's more dangerous than this New York team healthy. So,
What do you think healthy Philly though? With if Embiid and Maxey are both healthy, I think Embiid and Maxey are just as good of a 1-2 punch as I think they're better than a Giannis and Dame at this point with Dame's career. I mean, but does New York have the better roster? Like Boston has a better roster. Because I would say that a healthy Embiid and Maxey would be really close to a Tatum and a Brown.
Right.
But I think that the Celtics have a much better roster around them to elevate them. So I don't see how it makes them that much better than those two teams.
Right, because New York just barely took down Philly, and Embiid was hobbled that entire series. Like he clearly was not.
Didn't he miss like 2 games in that one?
Yeah.
He missed a couple
he didn't come back to the
He
later
came out
part.
in the first game and missed 2 and 3.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think New York, of course, they benefited off some injuries, but then they ran into their own injuries. And Mikal Bridges is good, but it's not great.
Could move, but doesn't move the needle that much.
Yes. Last but not least on the news, Houston quietly stocking up on draft picks to hopefully make a move for Kevin Durant probably next year. The Suns have already said that they intend on making another run at a championship this coming year with Kevin Durant. But the Rockets have stockpiled a bunch of these draft picks to hopefully try and lure him next year. Basically, along with a couple other moves, Houston went to Brooklyn and got a bunch of their draft picks that they got to give Kevin Durant to the Suns anyway. So I guess the whole plan is to basically say, hey, Suns, remember those draft picks you gave to Brooklyn to get Kevin Durant? You can get him right back. You can just reverse this whole mistake that you made 2 years ago. Just send them on down to Houston and problem solved.
How many years does Durant have left on his contract?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It should only be
a couple.
years. Because here's you can go ahead and research that while I say this, Jalen. I don't think it really matters, even if they get him, because I firmly believe that if Seattle gets the Sonics back, Kevin Durant will finish his career with the Sonics. He's always stayed true to the team that drafted him, the Sonics, not Oklahoma City. But even when it was Oklahoma City, he would wear Sonics gear to the arena just to throw it in people's faces. And he's been very open about being willing or wanting to be a part of, the franchise coming back to Seattle. So even if Houston makes all these trades or something like that, if Seattle ends up getting team back, I mean, he'll be what, like a 1 or 2 year rental at that point. Like he doesn't have
Right.
a lot of years left on that deal.
Yeah, 25 would be his last year on his deal.
Yeah, so you're gonna give up all these draft picks for like 1 year. Is he really gonna want to sign an extension when he already has all his money, and you're not necessarily going to be a title contender with him? So it doesn't make sense, and I don't know why Durant would be the person that you would target right now, with the way that his career's been arcing to begin with. But it sounds like a very Houston thing to do.
Yep.
They have tornadoes in
Trying
their
to see what-
downtown area, so why not just? It's crazy over there. They don't know what they're doing.
It's like the Houston Rockets are trying to see who can implode faster, NASA or the Houston Rockets. Like I don't know what it is we're trying to. I'm just envisioning these rockets shooting off and exploding 50 feet into the air, and that's the Houston Rockets team.
50.
It's just, I mean,
But when
right
you
though,
go to
like,
Houston- You get it.
ever since James Harden, though, no, stop it.
You get it. You get why.
Ever since James Harden couldn't win with Westbrook, and didn't he have Chris Paul? Yeah, he had Chris Paul
Yep.
for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When he couldn't win with those two, and then they ended up shipping Harden off, that franchise has just been lost. So why are you going to try to revive it with a third member of the Oklahoma City Thunder? It was great in 2012. Like, why are we doing this? So it just doesn't make sense to me. But it would be a very Houston thing to do.
Send him to the Clippers.
Do it. Complete the 2K team.
Ballmer's selling point would be like, Durant, we got a lot of toilets at this new arena. You need to take a shit, we got you.
Houston's going to make a run at him or Booker. Whichever one they can't get, they're going to go off the opposite because they're just desperate at this
I wouldn't even
point.
take Booker right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want either one of those guys.
What if we said about Booker being a preeminent star in the NBA since he went to the finals, back in 2019, was it? Or 2021?
21, yeah.
21. It's been a couple years.
Yeah.
And
And hasn't
So-
scratched it since.
his game has not elevated. Other
No.
people have been passing him in the
Right.
hierarchy in the NBA. I don't think he's necessarily gotten worse, but he hasn't gotten better. And if you're at that place, then your career is plateauing. So
I believe at the same time he started dating a Jenner, and that may have something to do
Oh,
with it.
shit.
But anyway, what do we know? We're gonna go to a break. When we come back, we're gonna have the man, the myth, the legend, G Money with us
money.
for some community comments. Then we're gonna hit what's up with that to round things out as our Celtics draft Bronny James in the final pick of the first round of the draft. So
Do it. Oh,
sit tight. We'll be back
here
in
for the
about
chaos.
10 minutes.
Bitch, I wake up, no silence. Fresh as fuck, I put it on her body. Got this fire on me, that bitch, she still a bad shit. She in school, but it's cool, yeah, I still my daddy bitch. Diamonds flooded like a pool, yeah, my necklace wet as shit. Rapping Balenciaga too, bitch, I'm flyer than a pitch. Yeah, I stand my paper roll way taller than a bitch. All these niggas lame as fuck, and they hate cause they don't get it. Yellow bitch, I'm cool as fuck, and it's paper that I'm getting. Rock us the gloves, but you get told, yeah, I'm on a money mission. All that old shit up, but the whole host still tell me they miss me. Yeah, I fuck her, but I can't cuff her. I won't make her business. I don't know that boy, and I can't say it.
Kaepernick keeps it. Fooled everybody. Colin Kaepernick. What a game. Touchdown.
I'm fresh as hell, bitch. I'm fly as shit.
There's a difference between him and Tom Brady. Tom Brady lost his fucking family trying to be great and win Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers is taking time out of a minicamp to go get high. This is why he has one Super Bowl. Fuck his MVPs, what he does in the regular season. This is why this man has won Super Bowl. It's about him more than the team.
That's what we doing. Crazy. Are you stupid? Stupid. That's what we doing. Crazy. Are you stupid? Stupid. Are you dumb?
I think it's going to be about a 36 to 14 game. Tampa didn't play good last week.
I'm going to say it's probably going to be like a 32, 17, 18 game.
It's going to be close. Depends. It's not going to rain anymore. So I'm going to go with we're going to win by 10.
I'll be honest, I think a lot of Eagles fans are nervous right now. I think it's going to be a close game. This is the Julio Jones night. This is the night where we find out what Julio Jones has left in the tank.
You're basically saying Devontae Smith ain't shit. You know who's going to score tonight? Turn around. That's who's going to score. Yeah.
I think it's going to be 21-24 Bucks. Jalen doesn't have A.J. Brown. He's going to throw the ball to Devontae, but
Bucks going to win it 27-23. Baker's going to drive it last minute, score a touchdown, take the lead, win the game.
All right, so he still thinks Baker plays at Oklahoma. Go ahead.
24-21 Birds, and I only think we win by 3 because AJ's out, Devontae's hurt, Jalen's hurt. We run the football, we win by 3. We go destroy the Lions when AJ comes back.
28-17, Eagles all
Did
day.
you know AFR is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts? Click the first link in the description below to listen to the most recent episode of the show.
he won the chip.
Right. You want to see what his trophy
He
looks
whooped my
like.
ass.
Yeah,
Oh, look at the unwrapped. Look at this bad boy.
That's tight.
Feel like we got some very nice. A couple of bad drafts, but you know, the waiver wire.
Yeah, man.
You were
He was
clutch.
on it. Yeah.
Like Think Taylor for being friends without him. Let's go for the repeat.
We do a sports podcast. Okay? And I can't help but notice that somebody is wearing an inside-out Dak jersey.
You know what? It's just a coincidence.
Explain what is happening right now.
The forecast was for rain. I didn't want the rain to fall on the outside.
That's all it is?
Because I love Dak. He's the best quarterback in the league. Big Mike's the best coach ever. Dallas's D is awesome. Yesterday was just unlucky. We won the coin toss. It was the Cowboys' way. It was all about the coin toss.
Let's talk defense. You're wearing the Cardinals hat. You don't get a say. Dan Quinn. I don't want him as my coach.
Oh, he's going to be, though.
I don't want him to be.
I heard a stat today. Green Bay has won more playoff games at AT&T Stadium than Dallas. Do you know if that's true?
It probably is.
I heard.
So you still love that?
No. Mike's got to go. Big Mike's got to go. Dan Quinn's got to go. Jerry's got to rip this shit up.
Who do you want to replace Dak then? Don't say Russell Wilson.
I was going to just ask you, would you trade Russell Wilson straight up for Dak?
No!
I wouldn't either now.
You went Browns to Bills?
No, I was a Buffalo fan and a Cleveland fan.
No.
They're in different leagues when I was
Well, they were all in the AFC. Oh, okay. Fuck the Bucks! Awesome! Go fucking Eagles! Fuck you!
Hold on, ramparts we watch of the free. We celebrate Dr. Who's legacy.
I hate you so much. Alright. Throw with the sniper. There's so much man on man. Bird.
You feeling good, man?
I ain't worried, man. I'm gonna tell him the truth. We not worried. We gonna score in this drive.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield for game. His name is Baker Mayfield.
Oh,
the nigga got AIDS.
Oh no! Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark put on a show yesterday. Angel Reese with 25 points, 16 boards, and Caitlin Clark with 17 points and 13 dimes. But in the end, Angel Reese got the better, leading Chicago's comeback to snap the Fever's 4-game winning streak. To me, this was the best game of the WNBA season so far, and this is just absolutely outstanding for the WNBA. The two faces of the league right now battling it out in dramatic fashion, and both showing that they really are the two stars in this league, both having a great game. Love watching both these ladies play, but let us know what you think down in the comments below the game itself. Do you also think it was the best of the season?
Dallas will get back. And it might be one of them late ones. Maybe it's going to be like Nowitzki losing to the Heat early in his career and then getting back and beating somebody else. They still got the best player in the NBA. And when you got the best player in the NBA, you always have a shot to get there.
They need that third go-to guy because Boston defense was way too good for them to only have two guys.
Only thing that makes me worry is Luka's his health. Eventually, that OKC team is not going to be young forever.
Out of these 5 quarterbacks, which ones are going to get an extension this coming year? Justin Fields. I don't think that Pittsburgh is going to give him an extension. He'll have enough tape, enough kind of moments as a Steeler to get him a contract somewhere else. Mac Jones, just a solid quarterback. I say yes, Jacksonville will give him an extension. Keep him around just to back up Trevor Lawrence. Jordan Love, absolutely. I think the Packers have the quarterback of the future. Zach Wilson, strangely, yes. Only because whatever reason Denver wanted him in the first place is not going to change. We're not going to learn anything new about Zach Wilson. They just need somebody to back up Bo Nix. They thought that he would be a good fit originally. So unless he just turns out to be a cancer in the locker room, yes, I think Zach Wilson stays in Denver. Trey Lance, no. I think that Dak will get his money. Trey Lance will get no playing time. And they'll go find another backup somewhere else. Trey Lance is going to want to be a free agent and go find another team that will actually give him a chance to play. Let us know in the comments below, are these 5 players going to prove it or lose it?
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the second half of your favorite show on the internet. We have got the one, the only G Money with us. What's going on?
Gentlemen, just sitting here drinking some cognac, watching Mexico, Venezuela.
Nice.
I decided, yeah, and not so much for Mexico missing a penalty kick, but you know.
Love it.
But yeah, gentlemen, always good to be on with you guys on a Wednesday night.
Yes, thank you for joining us once again. Our longest returning guest by far, the one, the only G Money. Your best critical sports analysis.
He's been on the
analyst.
show for easily over 100 episodes, right? I mean, he was here
Yeah.
for the 100th episode, weren't you, Jim Money?
Yeah,
You were here for the
I'm
100th
pretty sure.
episode.
Yeah.
You were. I think you started right before the 100th episode that summer.
Right around
I think
that.
he came on in May,
Yeah.
and then he started doing the NFL division predictions with us. And we
Mhm.
just kept rolling with him after training camp. So you've been, it's been over 100 episodes. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
With that being said, let's raise them on high to the second half of this glorious show here. Malin, what are you drinking?
I have some Jack Daniel's Bonded that I'm drinking, and outside of that, I have a Three Daughters Florida Orange IPA.
Nice.
I made breakfast for dinner tonight, and so I was like, you know what, this
Nice.
is like orange juice. There's orange on there, so I could have dinner. Continuing on there.
There's probably got some citrus flavor to it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, see?
That's that AFR
pulp.
logic.
Here we go.
Let's go ahead and hop into the community comments for this week. This is always my favorite segment of the show. This is where we read your comments from the past week off of social media. We're going to hop back into the Lakers hire JJ Redick conversation. When this first came out, the Lakers were trying to convince folks that LeBron James had no say in the hiring of JJ Redick, which I'm sorry, but I'm just going to flat out say that is the most naive thing that I've like. Do they think that we were all born yesterday? I mean, come on. I get that you want people to believe that, but you didn't even have to bother mentioning that. On TikTok, Nestor says, high risk, high reward.
I love
I
how
forgot I said that. I swear I forgot I said that.
Nestor always comments on our own videos like he's just a normal.
He's our biggest fan. Form Talk Now says, come on now, just so funny. They have a podcast together. He's been favored pretty much from the start. Probably told them to hire JJ and I'll be back, even though I'm going to fire him in 2 years if we don't win. Moving over to Instagram, Flexo14 says, actually, AD had more of the saying. 6ix9ine King says he was the one who interviewed him during all those podcasts. Someone else said, what about Rondo? LeGM, of course. But LeBron and JJ being on this.
Rondo is on the coaching staff. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to put him on there.
But LeBron and JJ being on the same podcast lets LA assume that they'll get along.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, G Money, what are your thoughts on the JJ Redick move? Because I want to hear from you, and then I want to hear from Jalen because he said he wanted to wait until the second half.
So my thought is this, right? You hire a guy that's basically limited coaching experience.
12-year-old.
Ostensibly, he knows basketball. He's obviously, yeah, he played in pros, so he's got that. He probably cost them a lot less than what Hurley would have cost them. And whether or not he gets to surround himself with smart people, that's a question mark. I know with their former coaching hires, they picked the coaching staff. The coach didn't. So we'll see what happens with JJ. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Gee, Bus, if you're watching, and you should be, 4 of us here, we've got a podcast. We've been on for a while. We've got viewership. Someone on here has coached children at one point. Coaching experience right there. Pretty sure that a few of us have played pickup street ball. That's a lot tougher than the NBA. You don't see a lot of flopping in street basketball. That doesn't happen. And we'd be a lot cheaper. And you could fire us after a year. We wouldn't care.
I can move to LA for a year.
Just throwing it out there.
You could just give me free food and a free place to live.
Right.
Yeah, the coaching staff of the Lakers. I will say 2 things really funny for you, though, Jalen. I think it's funny. I think it's funny that JJ Redick was known in the NBA for shooting threes, yet he goes to a team with the worst 3-point shooting in the NBA. So I think that's funny. The one thing he's best at, they got none of it. And second, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers there's no factual basis on this, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers and Hurley kind of used each other. One, drive down the price on Redick and drive up the price for a new contract for Hurley to stay with UConn, because he got a massive A grade. The moment that it went out there that, it's imminent that he's going to become a Laker, UConn was like, all of a sudden, you know what, we got some money. And we're willing to pay you more money. And also, I don't know if you guys watched First Take, but I thought it was hilarious when Stephen A. Smith said he had some insiders that were saying that it was Hurley's wife that said no and pulled the plug on the Lakers hiring him, and Molly just ripped in to Stephen A. Smith. He said, I don't want to hear that. I just don't think it's factual. I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to be a part of a show that does that. It just tore him down. I'm like, everybody has just been ripping. It is like launching season on Stephen A. Smith lately, man. And I'm here for it. For a guy that wants $25 million a year from ESPN to talk about sports and bloviate about it, for all these people just to be ripping him is just Jeff's kiss to that. It's beautiful to watch. Go ahead, Jalen.
I feel like we could have an entire show just about Stephen A. Smith, but that's neither here nor there. I think that JJ Redick will have a very much like Jason Kidd effect, where his first stop will just not be so great. In this case, just because the Lakers are just a complete dumpster fire. But he'll get another shot somewhere down the road, inevitably. Doesn't matter how bad the Lakers' job goes. The weird thing is, I don't really find him to be that funny. I don't know what it is about his sense of humor, but he's clearly very X and O gifted. Like he knows ball very, very well. He's up here, and for that reason alone is why I think he'll get several coaching opportunities in the NFL, or NFL and NBA. We mentioned earlier, I think he'll be a great leader in the locker room. He definitely strikes me as somebody who will be able to get all their attention, even though he's younger. He seems like he still has that leadership kind of captain factor to him for sure. And I think it'll be interesting how this specific Laker team looks with him at the helm, especially as long as LeBron is still there. It's just going to be interesting to see LeBron being coached by somebody he has such a close relationship with.
180 days older.
Yeah.
His coverage of the NBA with ESPN this whole year, Jalen, I kept thinking this whole year, I would love to see him on the TNT broadcast.
Yes.
With Shaq and Barkley, because he's just so blunt. I love
Yeah.
how blunt he is.
Right.
And if he thinks you say something stupid, he'll be like, "You're an idiot." That I do love about him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of his humor, because it's coming on the ESPN broadcast, doesn't go over so well with Mike Breen and Doris Burke. But with the TNT guys, that would be a lot of fun to see.
ESPN didn't like him because he just shit all over him all the time. They would say something, he'd let him say it and be like, "You're stupid." I'll never forget when he told Stephen A. Smith and somebody else that it was very clear with their synopsis of whatever they were talking about that they had never played any type of professional or college basketball.
It's probably Mad Dog. Stephen A. and Mad Dog. He probably told you.
Oh, Mad Dog. Oh, I love those two going at it too.
But yeah, he'll be a good coach eventually. I just think the Lakers right now is a weird stop for him, or weird start in this case. All right, let's.
Whose TV is going right now?
That's G Money.
G Money, is that your TV?
Maybe.
We can hear your TV, man.
Good. You know who the Timberwolves are drafting.
It's like, wait, what is that?
All right, let's go into the next video, which was Malin's comments on Aaron Rodgers missing the Jets mini camp. This is a clip that I would say blew up pretty well. So thanks for anybody that watched this, engaged with this across any of our social media platforms. On TikTok, I will say this video got 101 comments. And I want to say
They all hate me, don't they?
at least 80 of those comments were from two people arguing about Aaron Rodgers
Good.
and
What
Tom
about
Brady.
me?
So I'm not going to go into
Although
that.
I love it when people on social media shit on me. That's fine.
I'm not going to go into that. But most of the comments amongst all these platforms, all in agreement with Malin, which is a first.
Nice. What a first.
It's called growth.
Only when it comes to Aaron Rodgers.
On Instagram, let's start off. Brady dedicated his life to greatness. Yeah, Tom Brady knew how to win. This is why Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, all better than Aaron Rodgers. G. Rogers says Aaron Rodgers is running as a vice president, as a third-party candidate. Okay.
Who's he on the ticket with if he's the vice president?
Good question. Zach P3 says, yeah, he's super overrated, doesn't deserve a regular season MVP. He shouldn't have won over Henry and JT. It's just stupid. G. Rodgers came back and says, Tom had the advantage of his coach videotaping his opponent's defensive signals.
Gets the Rams, everybody. That was their first Super Bowl. That's when Brady was at his worst.
Then on on YouTube, Evan Zick says, as a Packers fan, you are spot on. At times, he's an amazing team leader, and others, he'll disappear and point fingers. Don't get me wrong. I think he's probably the smartest and most talented quarterback of his generation, but he doesn't have the Kobe-like drive that makes TB12 the GOAT. That was a great last sentence.
Yeah.
Joseph says, this is so true. Sean says he's taking a year off to find the edge of the flat earth. Andrew says Rodgers doesn't have a family. One Burn Man says Aaron Rodgers, he's weird. Truth Warrior, oh, here we go. Yeah, it's easy to talk shit, especially when you're a guy that can barely get up out of his rocking chair. However, the difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
First of all, you never see me get out of my rocking chair. Do that with ease. Just got to go back and then forward and get yourself out of it. You can just use propulsion.
Last one. This one is wild. Brady left his family because he didn't want to move to Central or South America to be a husband in a dangerous foreign culture, and he wasn't going to be cheated on. He wasn't going to be dictated by a double-crossing, entitled, pushy billionaire wife. Simple as that. Brady is a Californian or Florida beach kind of guy. He should just find himself an ordinary American sports training woman to get married to and have a normal all-American made life. Rodgers has a Super Bowl ring because he played a fourth-string quarterback in the 2011 NFC title game. Otherwise, he is 1-4 in the NFC title game.
He really
Was that Nestor? Was that Nestor doing that? What if it's-
What, is that a burner account, Nestor?
that really sounded like Nestor.
Who did Rodgers beat in the Super Bowl?
Was it the Steelers? Was it Big Ben?
No, he lost to Big
No,
Ben.
he lost
in,
to Big Ben.
in
Yeah.
Dallas. Who did he beat?
It's a good question.
I just think at some point, guys, I know G-Money's going to look it up. Like, I've heard this for forever, right? That Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. But when you have a losing record in the playoffs, when you've been to one Super Bowl, you have a losing record in the NFC Championship game, or any championship game for that matter, are you still the most talented? Like, isn't part of the talent of a quarterback, isn't part of your responsibility to galvanize your team and lift them head and shoulders than their talent
Right.
as they should be? And I mean, hell, that's what Brady did for years. That New England team wasn't always the most talented. But I think at this point, like, Aaron Rodgers has been living off the coattails of like his first 3 to 4 years that he was a starter. And I know he won a couple MVPs after Jordan Love, got drafted, but then he flamed out in the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't. Most talented, I still don't see it. Biggest ego, maybe.
He takes that.
Maybe. But if you want to say best regular season quarterback, I still think Peyton Manning has that title.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't. Money still hasn't found it yet. We don't know who would be in the Super Bowl. We do a sports podcast. I can only think of the Super Bowl where he lost to the Steelers. It's the only one that I can think of. But that guy said he lost to a fourth string quarterback. Who the hell do they play?
Right, 2011 NFC title game.
Don't look at me. That's not my account.
Yeah, he did. He beat the Steelers 31-25. But pretty sure that Roethlisberger was quarterbacking then.
Oh, so he did.
That's what it tells me.
That's right,
Yeah,
because
that
they
is
played
the only
twice.
That's
right?
the only Super Bowl he's ever been to. Only Super Bowl he's ever been to. So he did beat Big Ben. A fourth string? I mean, maybe a fourth string rapist. I don't know. But
No,
fourth
when
string quarterback.
he said fourth string quarterback in the NFC Championship game.
Oh,
to get there.
NFC Championship game. All I know is that Big Ben is a better quarterback, in my opinion, than Aaron.
Oh, now there's a hot take.
Look at the stats, man.
Mm.
He's ahead of Rodgers in every statistical quarterback and been to more Super Bowls.
Damn.
Big Ben went to 3 Super Bowls and won 2, and he's higher on yards and touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers was. The biggest claim to fame that Aaron Rodgers has is that he had a stretch of years where he was always throwing like less interceptions than anybody else. But he was also not taking the chances outside of when he had to throw Hail Marys. So, yeah, look at the stats between Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers and try to tell me that Aaron Rodgers has had a more successful career in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers. Or Aaron Rodgers has over Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stats are the stats. 3 Super Bowls, more yards, more touchdowns. More 400-yard games, more 500-yard games, more 5-touchdown games. Big Ben even had a couple 6-touchdown games, I think, 1 or something like that. Better record in the playoffs than Aaron Rodgers, I believe. I think Big Ben was a better pro.
All right, Internet. You heard the man. We'll see you back there in the
Yeah, it's
same
going to be
segment.
a video, isn't it?
During the same
We're going to be talking
segment.
about this next week on the social media comments. Yep, that's going to be a new Instagram one. Okay. Glad I'm able to provide content for social media.
There you go. All right, let's hit the last segment of the week, which is What's Up With That. This is where we each air out a grievance we have within the world of sports within the past week. G Money, you being our special guest, let's have you kick off this segment.
You know, Gareth Southgate, manager, England. After that horrible showing, Slovenia won a 0-0 tie. He came out because, yeah, it's not getting any better either. And I swear to God, if they lose, they get kicked out in the first in the knockout round. You're going to hear even more. So
we're here for it.
So the fans basically booed the team as they were going off the pitch at halftime, and then they booed the team again when the match was over and they were leaving. And Southgate came out and said, fans need to be behind England. They need to, cheer them on. It's like, fuck you, you wanker. I mean, they had 4 shots on goal. Messi had 4 shots on goal in the last game. He didn't make any of them, but he had 4 shots. I'm like, my God, your team. This kind of reminds me. I know none of you will remember this because you're all young, but 1980 Winter Olympics, U.S. hockey team, leading up to the Olympics, head coach there wrote on the blackboard in the locker room,
You lost him at Blackboard.
Yeah.
You lost Jalen and Nestor at Blackboard.
Says, you're playing worse and worse every day, and right now you're playing like the middle of next week. That's England. In a nutshell, you're playing worse every match, and right now you're playing like the middle of next week. Get behind Southgate. Listen to me right now. You're telling fans to get behind England, which they have been. They are the presumptive favorite, or at least they were, going into Euro 2024. These people paid their hard-earned money to go from England to Germany, to stay in some Nazi hotel, to drink German beer, putting up with all of that. And this is the performance you give them. This is the performance. You've won 1 match. 1 match. That's it. I mean, you don't deserve to be the manager of England. Hell, you were so good, so bad. Middlesbrough fired you, and they were a bloody first division team. They weren't even in the Premier League. You suck so bad.
I love that. I've known G Money for like 25, 26 years, and I think the only time I ever hear him say the word bloody is when he's talking about the team. Whenever he's talking about European football, man, that's the only time he says it. And you know what? Like, I thought that Americans went after Klinsmann in the national coach, but I hear G Money going after this guy. I'm like,
they hate
yeah,
him.
damn. Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
that's rough.
he's worthless. He's worthless. And his contract is up in December. Yeah. Go see if you can find a 3rd division club that will hire you. Because no one else is going to touch you.
E-Money, didn't Southgate say that he didn't have a replacement for a certain player who's like the most mediocre player probably on that team? It was like the equivalent of like the Patriots saying back a few years ago, we have no replacement for Nelson Aguilar. He's too good. It's insane.
Yeah, he's got players on the bench that haven't played yet, and you look at the team, you go like, so what's your thought process here when you decide that you're going to do your starting lineup? What's the thought process here? You're going against these teams. What are you thinking? Doesn't have a thought process. He's not thinking. He's just like, well, they look good on paper. Like, it's not fantasy league.
Sounds like
But yeah,
my
I've been
kind of
actually,
guy.
yeah. I'll leave now because I could go on for a good hour. But
All right.
Let's have Nestor go next. 'Cause I think he has something football related too.
Something on his heart.
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically just the football segment. Number one, this is like rapid fire. I'm mad I'm not watching these games in Copa America because this is a prime opportunity for me to watch Messi play. And I'm not there.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'll be there in 2026 when the World Cup starts. I really am praying on Colombia's downfall. Just because, as Jalen knows, everybody tells me to leave on TikTok. Every time I make a video about Colombia, there's like 100 comments. Leave. Get out of my country. So I want them to lose. Yeah, every time I visit for like a week, they're like, leave. We don't want you here. It's crazy. I really want the US to get a second shot at playing against Colombia. I know they got beat 5-1, but it almost feels like a fluke the way they're playing. Like they beat Bolivia, no problem. They look so comfortable. And then the next game after that, they look pretty comfortable too. So I think Pulisic is a beast. I think Balogun has one of the most. His name is just beast, like Balogun, and he plays in Monaco in France. Like, kid's great. He's fast, accurate. So I really want the U.S. to get that rematch because I feel like Colombia didn't really play. With all the hype surrounding them, they really didn't play that well considering all that. But Brazil, man, their decline has to be studied. Brazil tied 0-0 against Costa Rica. Costa Rica. Like, Ronaldinho came out and said, like, they had something like, I think he said they had no soul or something. That's exactly what they look like. They have, not only do you play, like, mediocre now and you tie against teams like Costa Rica, but you just lost that whole thing that identified your team, which is that beautiful game, the way you guys just,
They've been on
just
the
dance with
decline ever since they hosted a World Cup. They've been on the decline, haven't
Oh,
they?
definitely. Ever since they lost 7-1 against Germany, it's just been downhill rapidly. And supposedly they have like one of the best players in the world, which is Vinicius. I don't think he's one of the best players in the world. I think he's just, I mean, he is, but I don't think he's, the best player or top 3. I just think he happens to be on one of the best teams in the world. And that gives you great passes. You're right there, you score goals, you tap ins. He's fast, he dribbles good, but he's not, the best player in the world. I think it's disrespectful at this point, the way he's playing for Brazil, to put him in that category. And I will touch upon the Eurocopa real quick. G-Money, the only good thing is England at least avoided the other side of the bracket, which has Germany, Spain, France, Belgium, Portugal. They avoided all those teams. So they just have to worry about Austria, Italy and Switzerland, Netherlands. Yeah, so Austria's doing pretty good. They're like this sleeper of this whole tournament. So they play good ball over there, and they don't produce great painters, but great ball, great football. So I'm excited for the madness, man. I'm excited. It's the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm excited. Portugal lost 2-0 today against Georgia. No, it's not. It's not Alabama, Georgia. It's Georgia from Europe, and they lost to that.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great.
Oh man.
Well,
I don't know.
Tune in next
Yeah,
week for the
you know,
next
since-
installment in this.
I mean,
Since
France isn't
Jalen-
playing well either. So
Mbappe's going to do his thing. But, since Jalen does tout this podcast as being an NFL and basketball podcast, my what's up with that is going to be about basketball. And I'm not even going to talk about the WNBA and the fact that they're now giving exemptions to players not have to speak after shoot-arounds to the media so that Angel Reese doesn't have to go to a podium and make himself look like an idiot anymore. Or I'm not even going to talk about the fact that the Chicago Sky beat Indiana by 2 points, and Angel Reese is hugging Cheryl Swoops, who calls Caitlin Clark a bully, like Caitlin Clark hasn't been the one being bullied. And act like they won the WNBA championship when all they did was they're both fighting for the 8th seed right now. I'm not going to talk about that. Caitlin. What I'm going to talk about though is this narrative about the Boston Celtics winning their 18th banner, and how easy it was for the Celtics to win their 18th banner. Keep in mind they were the fourth most dominant team to win the NBA Finals in the last 35 years, only losing 3 games in the entire playoffs. I don't remember as a kid when, the Bulls were running through the East and going to the NBA Finals and only losing 2 or 3 games. People talking about, Michael Jordan's only in the finals because he had an easy road there. Never mind the fact in 91 he had to play an overaged, HIV positive Magic Johnson. I do think that Phoenix team was probably pretty good in 93. That Blazers team missed me with that. Sonics team was good. Sonics team was a team that was building themselves up there. I think they won 64 games that year, 60 or 64 games. That was a good team that they faced. But then they faced, a 45-year-old Karl Malone and John Stockton for 2 years, 97, 98. No one was talking about how easy the road was to win a championship for the Bulls or the Celtics or the Lakers when they would only lose like 2 games. But we lose 3 games in the whole playoffs and we win the finals and they're like, oh, it was so easy. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and defend Jason Tatum just a little bit here because I came across this stat. Okay. Before you turn 27 years old, Michael Jordan, before he turned 27 years old, made it to the playoffs 6 times, no finals appearances, 0 championships. Steph Curry, before he turned 27, 3 playoffs, 1 finals, 1 finals championship. LeBron James, 6 trips to the playoffs, 1 finals appearance after that crazy game he had against the Pistons, but got swept by San Antonio, no championship. Jason Tatum, 7 trips to the playoffs, he's never missed it. 2 finals, 1 championship. Before he's even 27 years old. Okay. That speaks to how good the team is. And they finally got over the hump. So everybody's crying foul. Oh, well, people got injured. When does Giannis not get injured the last 3 years? When does Embiid not get injured any time in the history of whatever? And, Jimmy Butler got hurt, but what were the Heat going to do this year, even with Jimmy Butler? And Luka was not so hurt that everyone wants to talk about because they want to tout the fact that, even Luka was hurt during the finals, but yet they want to tout, who was number 1 in points and assists and rebounds and field goal percent and all that. It was all Luka, right? We literally beat the best player in basketball who led the NBA in every statistical category in the playoffs. We beat him in 5 games. And Kyrie Irving was supposed to be having this renaissance, yet he only averaged like 13 or 14 points a game. And I think he only averaged 12 points a game when he was in Boston. So clearly the Boston fans got to him. So you know what? Like, miss me with all your narrative. We got the chip. We got the banner. Okay? You can only play who's in front of you.
Right.
All right? No one faults Tom Brady winning 6 championships with the New England Patriots, even though the rest of the division was dog shit for 20 years.
Exactly.
You still had to win your games and get to the playoffs and win when you got to the playoffs. So we were the most dominant team in the regular season. We were the most dominant team in the postseason. And, that's right. One of our biggest free agent or one of our biggest acquisitions in the offseason was hurt most of the playoffs in Porzingis and was hurt for most of the finals.
Thank you.
After game 1. So, yeah, we were dealing with injuries too. So, shut up. The team's fine. We're going to run it back next year. Whatever. Leave me alone.
That's the thing that gets me is that we really didn't even see the Celtics at their full potential in the playoffs because Porzingis was hurt for 90% of the time anyway. So
We did play our best basketball in the finals, yet we still won in 5 games.
yeah, and like you said, like, do we not think that all 6 titles that Michael Jordan got or like Kobe's runs? Don't you think that some of those years there were some injured teams that they went through in order to get to where they were? Like, let's please stop this narrative that no one has ever played an injured team in order to get to the finals. Anyway,
I mean, even talking about the Lakers, I mean, when they went their three-peat, one of the teams that they had to go against the most was Sacramento Kings. And we were touting Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, and Vlade Divac as being this great NBA team. They would be a play-in team
I know.
in this NBA right now. That King squad that had to go 7 games against the Lakers in one of the Western Conference Finals to even get to the finals. Like, come on.
This is a good segue into my what's up with that. But if you remember, you mentioned earlier when Chris Paul was a Rocket and they had the Warriors on the ropes 2018, I think it was. I think they were ahead in the series. Yeah, up 3 games to 2. And Chris Paul got hurt, and that was kind of it. Like, they could have knocked out the Warriors. Chris Paul got hurt, and the Warriors came back and beat them. And I mean, now nobody even mentions that. But where I'm going with this is Kevin Durant specifically. I don't think Kevin Durant is a Mount Rushmore player at all. I don't even think he should sniff close to it, to be honest. And to me, once this whole Kevin Durant going to the Rockets is a possibility got brought up, I just don't understand why he's still regarded as one of the Hall of Famer, obviously top 10 all time. I wouldn't even put him there.
Top 10.
Yeah, I don't say he's a Mount Rushmore player. I don't say he's a top 10 player of all time.
Maybe. I think it may be top 20.
Yeah, top 20. I would say
But
there.
if you put him in top 20, you're excluding. Like, if you're going to put him top 20, then you're getting rid of people like Pistol Pete, Havlicek. You're getting rid of Elgin Baylor. Julius Irving.
Yep.
If you're going to put him in the top 20, like you're getting rid of some people that a lot of people nowadays want to forget about that era of basketball. But those people could straight up ball. So, I mean, even the second half of his career since he left Golden State.
Yeah, it's like it took him being on, arguably the greatest team of all time in order to be a champion. And before then and since then, he's played with plenty of talented players, and he's never brought it home. So I don't understand why he's been regarded in such high regards when he's been in the same era as LeBron. And I'm not a Lapuki stan here, but if LeBron had the same rosters that Kevin Durant has had, oh my God, he would be dragged. Yeah, but if he did not deliver with those same rosters, just like Kevin Durant has not, he would have been dragged till the end of time for the same thing.
Booker, Beal, and James probably goes to the finals.
Yeah, strangely enough.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to shit on LeBron James, saying that he had to go to Miami to win his championships, yet he's won a championship back at Cleveland and now with the Lakers. But Durant does not get the hate for leaving OKC after getting knocked out by the Warriors.
Right.
Because I think OKC had a lead in the playoffs against Golden State. Golden State beats them in the playoffs.
Right.
Then they lose to Cleveland in the finals, and the next year Durant's on that team and he rips off 2 finals MVPs. But somehow his finals wins with Golden State are more legitimate
right.
than LeBron's when he went to the Heat. I was like, he went to a team that had already gone to back-to-back finals and won one. Like, what? I don't.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I don't know.
But yeah.
That guy.
That's my what's up with that.
Digressed.
And yeah, I think that's all she wrote for 194. Anything else you guys want to mention before we get up out of here?
I
France
will
had
just
four
say
players.
Oh,
Ah,
France?
Yeah, they had 4 players taken in the first round.
Wow.
Vive la France.
Vive la France. There you go. Yeah, I will say one of the funniest things that happened at that baseball game I went to last night, the Rays and the Mariners, is that the right fielder for the Rays slid home to score, and he ripped the entire back of his pants and had to go out into the field. I have pictures of it. It's hilarious. It looked like he just had a fucking flag out near his butt cheeks, just playing out there in right field with his pants torn. It was hilarious. That was funny. So Fanatics, do a better job. People should be able to slide home and not tear open their fucking pants. Because...
Party City pants. Yeah. That will do it for this week's episode, folks. Be sure to follow us at AFR Sports on TikTok and Instagram. It's linked down in the description below. Weigh in throughout the week while you eagerly wait for the next episode next week. And with that being said, we will talk to you all next Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace.